Did you know that long before supermarkets or delivery apps existed, there was a group of absolute legends who mastered the art of living off the land? We're talking about Native Americans. For thousands of years, they didn't just survive across North America, they completely crushed it. And they did it all by working with nature, not against it. Let's look at how they became the ultimate survival experts. Now, North America is huge, right? You've got freezing snowy mountains, super dry deserts, and deep forests. Because the weather was so wildly different everywhere, Native American tribes couldn't just use a one-size-fits-all survival strategy. Instead, they became master innovators, adapting their homes, clothing, and food to wherever they set up camp. They were basically the original MacGyvers. Take the tribes living on the Great Plains, like the Lakota. They followed massive herds of bison, which meant they needed houses that could pack up faster than a pop-up tent. Enter the tipi. These were smart cone-shaped structures made of wooden poles and animal hides. They were perfect for a nomadic lifestyle, meaning they moved around a lot, and could be taken down in just a few minutes. Meanwhile, out in the Southwest, groups like the Pueblo lived in hot deserts. Moving around wasn't their vibe, so they built permanent apartment-style homes out of adobe, a mix of sun-dried mud and straw. These thick mud walls acted like natural air conditioning, keeping them cool during blistering hot days and warm during freezing desert nights. Talk about ancient eco-friendly engineering. But what about food? You can't just DoorDash a burger in the year 1400. In places like the Northeast, tribes like the Iroquois invented a genius farming method called the Three Sisters. They planted corn, beans, and squash together in the exact same spot. The corn grew tall like a pole, the beans climbed up the corn, and the big squash leaves covered the ground to block weeds. It was the ultimate plant teamwork. Of course, you can't live on veggies alone. Native Americans were legendary hunters and fishers. In the Pacific Northwest, tribes built clever wooden traps to catch massive amounts of salmon from the rivers. On the plains, hunting bison required serious stealth and teamwork. But here's the coolest part. They had a strict rule of absolutely zero waste. When they hunted an animal, they used every single piece of it. The meat was used for food, the fur and hides became warm blankets and clothes, and the bones were carved into tools or sewing needles. Even buffalo hooves were turned into glue. They respected nature so much that wasting even a tiny bit of what they took was a major no-no. So how did they handle the absolute worst weather without modern heaters or jackets? In the freezing northern regions, tribes like the Inuit invented the parka, a heavy jacket made from animal skins that kept out freezing winds. They also invented snowshoes, which distributed their weight so they could literally run on top of deep snow without sinking. It was like having winter superpowers. And to get around on water, they didn't have motorboats. Instead, they engineered canoes out of birch bark and tree sap. These boats were incredibly lightweight, meaning a single person could carry them over land between rivers, but they were strong enough to carry hundreds of pounds of supplies. It was the ultimate ancient transportation system. What happened if you got sick? No pharmacies back then. Well, Native Americans were also master scientists who knew exactly which wild plants could cure a headache or soothe a cough. They passed this incredible knowledge down through generations by telling epic stories around the campfire, ensuring the younger kids learned exactly how to respect and protect the earth. So, how did they survive? By being incredibly smart, highly adaptable, and treating the earth like a best friend. Many of the foods we eat today, like corn, pumpkins, and potatoes, were first cultivated by them. Pretty epic, right? So, talk about survival of the fittest. Hope you enjoyed this episode of how Native Americans survived. See you on the next video.